Hi guys, today again at the Bim Fest in Sint Niklaas in Belgium. This is my pleasure to welcome Peter. Peter is actually known as DJ Borg, it's his DJ's name, and also as a producer, the Juggernaut. Thank you, Peter, for welcoming me because I did a few interviews, legendary interviews. So thank you very much for your help. But let's talk about you. Can you please tell us about your musical background, maybe before electronic music or EBM or whatever?
Actually, um, I was a teenager in the 80s.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm that old. So I grew up, my brother is like 10 years older, and he came home with records from DAF and Liaison Dangereuse, Human League, Joy Division. And we slept in the same room, and my brother put on the records at night on like an automatic record player that the records dropped one by one afterward finished. It was like a telescopic arm opened and then the next record,
Oh, great.
so we could hear all the E sides and afterwards the B sides. And so I think the first albums I remember is actually Closer from Joy Division, Geography from Front of It Two, the Human League, Travelogue, and some Sisters of Mercy, also the Reptile House. So we like in back in the days it was not like today Spotify or something. So you had a record and you listened to that record and yeah until you got tired of it, but you didn't get tired of it because it was the only thing you had. And so I kind of grow in that music thanks to my brother who was buying these records, and soon I started buying more records than he did, and I was totally hooked on Front of It too. After Geography, I bought the Commando remix EP, and I loved it so much. Yeah, I totally hooked on that. Yeah, that's how I got in this scene. And in the 80s, it was not like EBM scene or Gothic scene. It was like we called it New Wave, and it was from Joy Division to Front of It too, or even Einstürzen Noboten, but it was all the same. So yeah, that's how I got to know this music.
As we are cousin, because electronic music is a big something very big, but EBM, industrial music, and afterward new beat and acid house and techno. It's linked somehow. Do you remember when you were into, as you call it, a new wave or cold wave or whatever, EBM? Do you remember the first time you have heard some new beat and acid house and stuff like that? Because it was right after the era you are talking about.
Yeah, I know it very well because in I think in 85, 86, I started like a new wave club with my brother, like a bar with a stage and stuff. A small club, but it was quite known in the north of Antwerp, and we played all the music that we liked, like the ones I mentioned before. And I remember like Front of It Two had released No Comment and stuff, and then at a certain point. Um we found out that either the more poshy clubs, they were playing like Split Second, but they didn't know new wave, and it was just the kids dancing very weird on some like nice rap songs played too slow and stuff. And it was happening like in the next discotheque, like 500 meters from our club, and we were wondering like why do the people like
Ah,
new beat so much, and we didn't never saw them in our club. So it was very strange to experience that. That yeah, the sound was not so different like the music we played in our club, and still it was a totally different world. And so in the beginning, we all hated new beat because they were stealing the music away from us.
had
And
some success, but
yeah. It was a huge success in Belgium, and yeah, now I love new beat. I love it. Yeah. Okay, there was a lot of crap made,
Yes,
And
it was called a nougat beat at the time because it was to separate, you know, the great stuff from the garbage, and of course it was a lot
yeah,
of garbage.
everybody started to make new beat, like
Mm,
the biggest Flemish pop stars started making new beat
mm,
remixes. It was awful. Like,
absolutely.
now I can appreciate the good new beat songs. I will play some in my set tonight, but at that time I totally hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a DJ, let's talk about a little bit about the DJ stuff. You were talking about it a little bit. Can you develop about your experience with DJing the first time you touched the turntables and
Yeah, like I said, we started a club
yeah?
in '86, I think, and I think in '85 um, we had already like a big collection of new wave records, and we asked like a local bar, like, can we do like a new wave party here? So we threw a new beat party in a little village in north of Antwerp, and to our surprise, the bar was packed, you know. And at the same night, the owner came to us. It was on a Friday night, and the owner came to us and he said, "Oh, please, can you come back tomorrow and do the same?" And so we just shouted through the microphone like, "Okay, tomorrow we do this again," and again, the house was full, and we did this like 4 or 5 weeks after on a row, and now we would start thinking, okay, we should start our own bar instead of giving everything away to this guy, and. So I started DJing when I was 15, I think, with real records and tapes, you know, and that's how I started. And then we opened the club, and I was a resident DJ. I played every Friday, every Saturday night for 4 years long, you know.
So you have been DJing for all this time,
Yes,
almost
yeah,
40
yeah,
years.
yeah. I never
Wow.
stopped DJing. Yeah, I never went to Ibiza, but it's not
Maybe
a
it's not.
place I want to go. No.
Yeah, but I always talk about Spain, and there were another town which was very interesting. It was Valencia,
Yeah.
because in Valencia there were a lot of industrial music, a lot of it was kind of the Belgian in a way, the sound. It's something very different than Ibiza.
Yeah, yeah. I know, yeah, because some years ago we were invited there to play with Absolute Body Control and
Yeah.
with Split Second
Hmm.
in Valencia.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can imagine there was
Yeah,
a huge
it's
scene there.
interesting. It's always forgotten, so we try to tell the story because it was a place in Spain where I come from south of France, and it was not really into. We were not really into electronic music, but in Valencia they called it bacalao and a máquina, but with a Q, not máquina with a K. It's
Mhm.
something different. It's something different, and it was a mixture of like in Belgium, a mixture of cold wave, new wave, EBM, synth pop, and so on. But the tempo was faster, so it was kind of a Spanish mixture, and it's very linked to the Belgian word. And so I'll tell it often because we have to give the credits to
Yeah,
them for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
About techno music, because it's linked in a way in the electronic world. What was the first time you have heard a techno track, and what was your reaction to that during maybe the late 80s to the early 90s?
My first techno track. Well, I think back in the end of the '80s, I was going to some parties where they already played some techno style stuff, and I think the first band that drew my attention was Underworld,
Oh,
and I even went specially to see them to real techno events, just to see Underworld, and I was lucky to have Kraftwerk on the same night playing with
oh,
Underworld. So yeah, it was so it must be like 1889, I think, something 90, and in the 90s. But I don't like all techno. It has, for me, some techno is like soulless without feelings,
hmm,
and I think Underworld and Orbital are my favorite techno bands. If they still
no.
consider
So
techno these days, I
techno
don't
from
know.
the UK and not
No,
necessarily techno from the US, which is
no, yeah, no techno from the US. No,
mhm.
no, no.
About producing music. When did you start to produce music, and what was the first piece of equipment you bought at the time?
Well, I think as soon as we opened the club in '85, also started a band. Me, my brother, a guitar player, keyboard player, with a drum machine, because in that time we thought it was cool to use a drum machine. And the first musical equipment that I bought was a drum machine, a Roland TR-606,
Okay.
and I think we had
The 303?
MS-10, MS-20
Yeah,
synths.
okay.
We even had the vocoder, what was it, VC50 from Korg.
Mhm.
We had the whole series. I think bought also my first sampler, what cost a lot of money.
What
It,
was this?
it
The
was a
sampler?
Korg DSS-1,
Okay.
and it costed like two month wages for my income, and you could sample 4 seconds. 4 seconds on
Which
16 bits.
Which was long at the time because
It was
sometimes
long.
you
It was
can-
long. Yeah.
You are still producing today as a Juggernaut, as I was saying. Can you tell us about the evolution of your setup? Of course, now I think maybe you have kept the 606. The 606, I don't know.
I wish. I wish.
Okay.
No.
But what is your DAW and what is your setup today about producing music?
Well, I changed. I in the beginning we used Cubase, and then I think in the nearly 2000 I changed to Ableton, because of the partner I was starting Juggernauts with was like Ableton trainer. So I saw him work with it, and I said, okay, I like this platform. I was a bit tired, I think, of Cubase, also because it was always very dodgy at that times. DAWs were not so stable, you know. You had to have a very expensive computer, and I think Ableton for me was like, it worked like seamless, like never had a problem with it. And then I still have hardware, of course, but I admit, if I'm on tour a lot with other bands doing the sound and stuff, so I have a lot of like wasted time in airports, hotels. So I make my demos mostly in the box, in the MacBook, and with the VSTs. And then when I get home, I take some tracks out and I run them through the hardware I have.
What is the piece of hardware you have? Old stuff, new stuff?
It's a bit a mix of everything. I have some very old vintage stuff, like I have the Oberheimer OBX white rack version. It's one of my first expensive synthesizers I bought. And then I have the Waldorf microwave with a red knob. I have a Moog Sub Fatty for my bass lines. But I also bought some Behringer stuff because it's good and it's cheap.
Yeah.
And I don't care about what people say about nobody hears the difference.
I want to ask you a question. What do you like about technology and electronic music in general today? The positive thing you can find today.
Yeah, I like that the workflow is like more stable. When I remembered me with the hardware and Cubase, it was always a hassle, you know. And every song you had to write everything down, save the sounds and stuff. And I think this got much easier now with the modern platforms, and this I think I like the most. It's more, yeah, it's just more stable, everything.
And what do you dislike? So you are more into the EBM scene. You're not into the techno scenes. We usually talk about techno, but a lot of different electronic style. What do you dislike or about the maybe the TBM and EBM scene of today?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say what music I don't like. It's
No.
not just not yeah. It's not just not my style of music, but what I don't like about those scenes is that it seems that it doesn't matter anymore who made the song, or it's like just brainless jumping on sound. What can be good, but I think if you ask on a kid on the dance floor in a techno club, like, who made this track? They won't know, no. And that is something I like. I like music to have a story, something behind it, and not just brainless noise,
Okay.
or beats.
I'm gonna ask you the question back to the past. You take, the DeLorean, just like in Back to the Future. Just like in Back to the Future, you take the DeLorean and you can choose a place and a time in the past, lived or not. Where and when would it be?
I think I would go back to the 80s. Yeah, maybe few years older. Okay, then I wasn't even more old now, but yeah, I think I just missed the most exciting part of the like punk and new wave, like the very early 80s. I missed that part, and then yeah, sometimes I feel sorry for that.
I'm going to ask you the question, the guilty pleasure, the musical guilty pleasure. What do you listen sometimes when you do not want to say it because it's EBM and it's electronic, but sometimes maybe you do not listen only this kind of music. What kind
It's
of?
funny that you asked me because I actually found a solution for this guilty pleasure.
Okay.
I started a project called Porno Karaoke,
Oh, okay.
and with this band, we play like all the guilty pleasures we want, and I don't have to apologize for it because we just play them ourselves. We play Divine, we play Sweet Dreams, like yeah. So I found a
Don't-
solution for that. Yeah.
okay, you don't have to feel guilty. So. What kind of music are you listening at home when you're no, not necessarily electronic music, but what kind of other style of music are you listening? Maybe sometimes.
Well, the strange thing is, and especially the last decades, I don't listen to music anymore at home. Because I'm a lot out and on concert floors and disco floors. I think when I'm home, I rarely listen to music. Yeah, I like the silence also. I'm not gonna no esoteric music or classical music or so like. No, I don't feel the.
Mhm.
I make music
Okay.
and no, not listening. No, I stopped listening music at home for a long time. Yeah.
With which artist would you dream to collaborate with? I can ask you the question in two parts. The first one, it's possible, and the artist is living, and the second part is the artist maybe is dead. It's just a dream, a child dream. But let's dream for a little while.
Who would it be? Um. Yeah. I think one of my all-time idols is Frank Tovey, Fat Gadget.
Oh,
Yeah. 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 I would love to have it make music with him, or yeah. So that's the impossible
yes.
candidate, and maybe possible candidate. 9 Inch Nails. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Skinny Puppy. Yeah, obviously. um,
Okay, so about being the resident DJ of the Bim Fest, can you talk about this? Because you are going to play in a few moments.
yeah, I hope I can hear them stop.
Yeah.
Um, I've a lot of friends tonight who are helping out this festival, and especially my sister who is organizing the festival. They used to come in our bar in the 80s, and they are now volunteers here in the club. And so it was a bit like logical that I became also the DJ on these festivals. Of course, I was the resident DJ in the club, and all the years I made parties. It's for me like a celebration of our friendship, and it's so nice to see all the happy faces in the venue when you play some tunes and when you see the live bands play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to DJ on
Yeah.
Bimfest.
I can say that this event is great because it's kind of a dream come true. Sometimes there is artists that you haven't seen for several years, for a very long time, and it's quite an emotion to see them and to have all the fan put together. So it's a great great festival. So it's a great place. And to end this interview, can you talk about your upcoming events, maybe your EPs or album coming up, or musically, the music you are making, and
Yeah, we recently released an EP called Fear with the Juggernauts, and I'm working on the follow-up, probably also an EP that I hope to release the like spring next year. I think I will be DJing here again on the EBM day on 24th of February with Cat Drape's Dog playing and Spike Hallis, was a great band from LA, USA. And I think they also confirmed Human Steel, German band. I think with a drummer of Project Pitchfork.
okay, oh,
And I tried to remember the other band I was there. Zinnik 14 is a Belgium EBM band. So that's the next event they will have here in the casino where I will be DJing. And further on, we have some shows confirmed with the Juggernauts and Porno Karaoke in Lille in France.
okay,
That's for April 26th, I think, or 27th on a Saturday. It's not announced yet, but I'm doing it now.
okay.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
exclusivity.
Like a scoop.
It's a scoop.
Yeah.
Important thing, if we want to follow you or if we want to listen to your music, what is the best way to do that?
I think the best way, for Juggernauts is like www.thejuggernauts.be, and
So your website, and we will put the link.
for DJ Borg, I think the best thing is to visit the website from Body Beats. It's www.bodybeats.be.
We will put the link on the description.
And subscribe to the newsletter of Body Beats so you get all the info from all the bands where I'm involved with and support.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Peter, for everything. Thank you for your time and for this interview. See you next time.
Thank you.